There's like
what does ASMR even mean?
it's like something auto something stimulus something response. It like stands for something, but it like is this like people describe it as like some weird. I've never actually like felt it, but like some people like have like some response or something that makes them kind of like shiver whenever they hear that kind of sounds, and it's like I guess like a pleasing feeling or something. But the best ones I saw one where he was like this guy was like sculpting a statue, and he was like talking about like ancient like Irish lore and like all this stuff. And he would be like chiseling away, he'd be like, and say with the dragons.
Sure, that's just like relaxing knowledge.
It is nice. See, the best part is whenever it's like things that you actually like care about. Whenever people are talking about ASMR,
ASMR is a feeling of well-being combined with a tingling sensation in the scalp and down the back of the neck.
There you go.
As experienced by some people in response to a specific gentle stimulus, often a particular sound.
That's interesting. I wonder what kind of varying.
I also think it's a way for people that are too lazy to make genuine human connection to lazily interact with people in the real world. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I feel like the ASMR thing is never about any interaction. It's just about ad revenue. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like you're certainly not saying any curse words.
I think there's probably some people that are like genuinely into it.
Oh, yeah.
But a large demographic of people who it's just like, this is a way to make money.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of how music is in some ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's people that do things that are very genuine, and people like you see them play or you hear it and it's like, what the fuck? This is so fucking fake. But yeah, we're here today. We're real. Things are good. Hey, hello, internet. Okay. Hi.
Go, internet.
Hey, hi, friends. Hi. Hey, hi. This is not an ASMR podcast. Let's fucking do it. Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of the people who listened to that conversation, I hope you enjoyed it. And thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you out there who are new to the show, welcome. Please feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer and soda in the fridge. Cheers, my friends.
Let's go.
Cheers. I'm sitting here today with 2/100ths of Kiwano Sour. How many fucking people are in your band right now? I have no fucking idea. It doesn't really matter, but I'm sitting here today with Jeff and Sam of the band Kiwano Sour. Make some noise for the internet, my friends.
Let's go, internet. Yay. Oh, yeah.
Everyone's really happy that you're here. So some of you may remember Kiwano Sour from sometime earlier in the year. Another 2/100ths of your band was on the show.
Dylan and Rob.
Yeah, not you two.
Correct.
But you two are here now. I don't know why you're here. What's the big fucking deal? What are we doing?
Oh, like just why? Like why are we on the show?
You hit me up. You were like, I want to come on the
that's
show.
right.
So what was so fucking important?
Well, we have new people. There's a new drummer and a new keyboard player, and they're both great. And we're releasing our first new song with the new lineup, and we're super excited about it.
Absolutely. Very excellent.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So you got some new stuff coming out. A different thing. The Kiwano is still sour. The flavor is just a little bit different. You feel me?
Yeah.
That's
More
tight.
developed, a more refined
Yeah.
flavor of Kiwano. You got to build flavors on top of each other. It's like a fine cook, you know?
So for everybody out there in the internet land that maybe didn't listen to the last episode, that's, this is their first time getting in the mix with you sour boys. Why don't you explain to the world what it is exactly that you do in terms of music?
Sure. So, I mean, we certainly consider ourselves a funk band. We like to, make some dancey beats, get people together, and just feel better about things. A lot of, at least, my songwriting experiences come from sort of just, trying to create, emotion. And I think that's what a lot of music is about. But we certainly love a good party, and we love to kind of build textures and layers between, the kind of various people that we have in the band, with so many people, 7 or 8 or sometimes 9 on stage, depending on, who's available to sit in that evening.
There are 7 members.
Yeah, that's true.
We have, occasionally we have auxiliary percussion, and then we'll work with backup vocalists. And if there's a sweet like saxophone player in another band, we'll be like, play the whole show. And they're like,
there often is.
What key is anything? It doesn't matter. It's your solo now, by the way.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta drop them in the deep end.
My favorite sit-in ever was the one we played a show at Full Pint, and Alec Red from Afro.
Oh,
and
yes,
absolutely
absolutely.
slayed like our most sultry song.
Yeah.
So there's this really funny thing that has nothing to do with Kiwano Sour, but Sam in general, just as a human being, and the anarchy that is your character, because there just seems to be no rules or law when it comes to anything you do. And it's very intriguing just because you play in several projects. You don't seem to really take anything that seriously, but seriously enough because you're really skilled and really good at what you do. But you have this like air about you. It's just like, fuck it. Do whatever. Fuck the key. Figure it out. If I trust you to be here, you could probably do it.
Also, that's true. But that's definitely true. And that's actually part of the reason that we have like the current Kiwano Sour lineup that we have. But yeah, I mean, I'm actually like, I study like music theory and stuff like that. But like, whenever it's just a matter of like, screw what key it's in or whatever, it's like, if you know, like you should know what you're doing if you're going to like step on a stage. You know what I mean? So, like you go up there and you want to stay in your box when you're on the stage and like, perform what you know how to perform. But the better that you are and the more that you actually understand and are well rehearsed enough, then like if you go up there and like, you don't know what's going on, then I don't really have any time for it.
Yeah, well, I feel like Sam also has, I feel like there's a certain degree of trust that you put in a lot of the people that you work with, and especially a lot of the people in Kiwano Sour. At the very least, I don't sit on back alley sound practices too often, but it's a feeling of like it's not like a micromanagement thing. Like if you're in the room, kind of like you were saying, it's like you trust that whatever's flown from that person on the day is going to be good, and if it's not, we can work together to do it. But it's one of those things that if you're in a room with people that you trust, or if you're on a stage with people that you trust, that you have that confidence in them to kind of produce what's going to work.
And that's something that I think comes with just a little bit of time. You start to
more of the sauce.
Yeah, dude, you're already
nice.
Hell yeah. What a professional, dude. We're fucking 5 minutes into the podcast and this motherfucker's refilling his cup already, bro.
Today.
He's fucking getting it in. But the one thing that's really cool, and it seems like something, you've obviously gotten a good grasp on, is just like the more that you start to get into the scene and you work with a lot of people, you play shows with other people and other bands, you just start to get this grasp of like what other people's work ethic and what their skill set is like just by being around them a couple times and like seeing them play and shit like that. And I imagine that's probably a big part of like where the lineup of Kiwano Sour is now. It's just from like playing with a bunch of different bands, meeting different people, and just like finding those people. It's like that would work really well. And then unfortunately in some circumstances, maybe like, oh, you're just not working out with what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is just like, Kiwano like tries to, we want to make like the best product that we possibly can.
And the band hasn't even been around that long, even like 2 years
true.
maybe?
Well, a little bit less than 2 years.
Less than 2, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like we want to go out and put the best product forward that we can. And in order to put the best product forward that we can with the talent that we have, it's going to require like a similar amount of effort from like the whole crew. And like, sometimes people have other stuff going on and don't want to commit like their whole brain and energy to music. And like I have Back Alley Sound and Kiwano Sour, and I work with Walkman too. Like, just like,
and you do like jazz trio sort of stuff.
Yeah,
as
me
well.
and Christian from Back Alley Sound and Rob from Kiwano.
And you have a
Back Alley
job.
Sound. Yeah,
so like
I was just like beating around for like 4 months.
Congratulations. But I mean, like with that being said, it's a thing where it's like, I get this a lot too, where it's like a lot of people are always asking me like how do you do all the stuff that you do? And it's just, I don't know, just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like you have so much fucking time in a day, just schedule yourself like a fucking adult and you could do so much.
Absolutely.
It's crazy how much people like underutilize their time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can put like, the thing about music that's nice is that between like the actual notes that are being played themselves and like how you want to like visually represent it and how you want to market it and all that, like you can be working on music like all day, even if you don't have a bass in your hands, or you and Mike. You can like, I'm sitting there making gyros and Mike and Tony's, and I don't really care what this dude's no onion gyro tastes like. I'm just thinking about the bands,
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess that's also like can be detrimental and has been very like more than once.
Sure. Like
in the past.
my brain's always focused on different things. I'm always in another place no matter where I am. Honestly, like this podcast is probably one of the few opportunities to actually talk to me and not have my brain somewhere else, because right now I'm just focused on you two.
Right.
I'm not thinking about other shit. But if I'm at work or if I'm, out to eat with, the lady or all this other thing, it's like nothing against anything else I do.
Going to Disney World.
I mean, fuck, I could be at Grey Walker practice.
Suits.
Yeah. Yeah. I could be at Grey Walker practice and I'm thinking about Sykes, and I could be at Sykes thinking about Grey Walker. Like it's just, my brain's just always all over the place, but it's just a matter of like, well, I don't know. I have all the, it's just the way I work. I don't even like think about it. Every once in a while, it's usually somebody else. It's just like, hello, are you even here? And it's like, oh yeah, sorry. Like I'm just thinking about these 10 fucking things that I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as long as like that's something with creativity that is like an intangible that you can be working on ideas and thinking about, whether you're thinking about like a bass line to something or thinking about a chord progression or like thinking about like a music video or just like a picture that you're going to take of the whole band. Like you could be doing that like at any point during the day.
Yeah.
So like some people sit on the bus and read a book. I sit on the bus and just like look like this and just like think about it.
Yeah. And there's so much to do, especially in 2019, the year of our Lord, where we got to be like everything. We can't just be like, you can't just be a bass player. What I mean? You can't just be a vocalist. It's like, you always got to be thinking about like, how are we going to promote this show the best way possible? What's our album cover going to look like? How are we going to record our album? All these things. Cause we're like, we don't have fucking managers and all these things. Some people do, but I mean, we don't, we're our own business advisors. And we got to think about all that shit. So with that being said, you mentioned earlier, you got some new stuff coming out. Let's talk a little bit about that. What's the deal, Leo?
So yeah, we got a new song coming out. We've played it a few times at shows, but it's called Angel Wings. We have all the tracks down except for vocals, I believe. I'm going in tomorrow to kind of clean that up and get that ready.
Shout out Dan.
Oh yeah, Dan Hotbox, let's go. We love you. But did we post that event yet?
Yeah, it's up.
Yeah, what's the date on that?
November 22nd.
So November 22nd is going to be our single release show for that Angel Wings track, and we'll be having some new music for you there as well that is also unheard, even less heard than Angel Wings as it already stands. So we're really excited about it. We have kind of a much beefier kind of like horn sound on this track, I feel. Kind of, through some recording techniques and that kind of thing. So I think
Robbie Ruff plays clarinet on it.
Robbie Ruff, Rabble Rousing Robbie Ruff plays the clarinet and a doubled alto saxophone alongside a doubled tenor and I believe a Barry as well. Yeah, from Justin Benzino.
It's Justin Benzino's birthday. Happy birthday, Justin Benzino.
I didn't even know that. Happy birthday, Justin Benzino.
Yeah,
Can we get an effect from Sykes on there? There we go.
The Moat Rat story has like all sorts of Justin stuff, and the Kiwano one has nothing.
Well, we might have to change that. We need to plan this in the group chat better. Make sure we're all on the same page about birthdays.
Yeah. My house is usually the birthday house.
It is the birthday house.
Yeah, because like I have a big house and everyone else has a little house, so you can like pack everyone in there and like.
Do you guys rehearse in your house
and stuff? No, we rehearse at Store Express in Southside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So when it comes to rehearsal and things like that, how often are you guys getting together? Because in like the short amount of time you've been together, you've been like reasonably prolific.
It depends on the like the week. Like coming up, we got on October 26th, we're playing our first Gray Area show at the Rex, which if you're a funk band in Pittsburgh, like you want to open.
Oh, that's awesome. That's going to be tight for you guys to play on a big stage like that. That's
awesome. We're opening for Pink Talking Fish.
Okay. I don't know anything about like, that scene.
Well, yeah, they're like a Pink Floyd Talking Fish, Talking Heads and Fish. Like they do like medleys. It'll be like a 15-minute song.
Sure.
And like, it'll be like, a combination of those songs.
It sounds like drugs.
Yeah, they're they're a good crowd whenever they come through. And
Pink Talking Fish is drugs. We need to talk to their merch guy.
So like that being said, like so normally we always get together twice a week. And like, but if there's like stuff coming up, we'll get together like 3 or 4 times a week. And then if there's like a show that's real big on like before the Angel Wings release show, we'll probably get together like, most likely at least some amount of people every day.
That's awesome that you have the freedom to still do that. Unless, I mean, I'm not here to ring the alarms of the end of the world, but unless things work out in your favor, which I hope they do, because I support your band and you're both beautiful human beings. As you get older and life takes on different things, it becomes harder and harder to make that time.
Yeah.
It's like now with like Gray Walker and Sykes, it's like we're lucky if we get together once a week.
Yeah.
And it's fucking crazy. Like the amount of pressure that puts on you as a band if you're still trying to write music and play shows and do all this other shit, and you're like trying to condense that down to fucking 4 or 5 hours a week. It's a nightmare.
You know what's good?
I was just gonna say that the timing thing is definitely something that it needs to be taken into consideration. But I feel like the part of the freedom that we're allowed is because of how many people that we work with Kiwano.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like what you could refer to as like sectional rehearsals and that kind of thing. But we kind of have like a smaller subsection that's more of like a songwriting core. Obviously, the horn section gets together, rhythm section works together, that kind of thing. So
I would say that almost like most days, some combination of people in Kiwano are doing something related to it.
yeah.
That's awesome. And I would say too, like with Gray Walker, there are days when like the guitar dudes are like getting together and they're working on stuff that's not at the practice space. And like, you know, I mean, I just yell shit in that band. And then at practice, I pick on the drummer about rhythm parts because that's about where my brain works. I'm a hip hop dude. So, but so I guess we kind of have that too, but with Sykes, it's once a week and either we're writing or we're rehearsing. It's one or the other.
Well, something that we have as a huge advantage now that we didn't have before is our new keyboard player, Chris, he had FL Studio 4 when it came out and kind of has stuck with it since then. So like I'll write a bass line and then there's like a drum part and a keyboard part on it.
5
the next
minutes
like
later.
5 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's super crucial. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have like a lot of new stuff that we're working on, like tightening up and making into like actual Kiwano Sour songs, like a lot.
But the timing point that you made before is so interesting. I mean, that's really the timing concern is what got me back kind of into music. I wasn't really doing music much. I did it a lot in high school, played in a bunch of different bands. I went to college for a little bit before dropping out and ended up actually going on a trip with my family to New Orleans and saw like all this incredible like jazz. And then we went up to Mississippi and saw like a bunch of blues and stuff. And we were just driving around and I just like had this thought run through my head. And just that was like, if I don't do this now, like I'm not going to have time for it, because I was staring down the barrel of like a job that I was, a new job that I had, which I still work to this day. It's like a 9 to 5. And it's something that, kind of splitting that time is something that's definitely difficult, but it was kind of a now or never thing for me. And I felt that it was like really crucial to get back into it because it was such a huge part of my life and something was missing for those 3 years when I was not doing that.
Getting into it then, did you already know Sam or was there like some...
Oh my God, this story.
Okay, yeah, let's dig into
so like essentially like, so I knew Sam in school. We kind of like operated in sort of like tangential kind of like circles.
I also went to Pitt and didn't finish.
Yeah. So yeah, that one of the now concentric circles, not tangential circles, is that we're both dropouts. But yeah, so I knew Sam and I knew he was incredibly talented and seen a few of his groups play and stuff while we were at school. And then I came back from this trip essentially, and we're in Bootleggers in Oakland.
Bootleggers on Semple Street.
Semple Street. Yeah, I used to live above the Mellinger's beer store over there, and so I just would go over to Bootleggers all the time. And I walk in, I see Sam, and I go up to him and I'm like, "Hey, I know you're a talented musician. I just wanted to look for some people to jam with. I haven't been doing it for a while, trying to get back into things." And I was like, I'm kind of trying to do like a funk project sort of thing. Like I play the bass too, but I'm really more of a vocalist from training. And Sam basically just looks at me and he's like, I'm here drinking because my band kind of just broke up. So it was, it was like essentially
he said, I really been meaning to start a band like as a vocalist, but I really need like a funk, like jazz soul fusion bassist. And I was like, my band broke up like a couple days ago. So
was that the kind of stuff that your band was doing? Like
yeah,
what's your
like
background
the first, I was a drummer from the age of 3. Actually, my grandpa gave me a drum kit, a 1963 Camco Tuxedo Blue Sparkle drum kit. And Spencer, our current drummer, actually plays it now because I traded that to him for a bunch of bass stuff. And whenever I was 17, I decided that I wanted to play bass because it was like drums with notes. And I just pretty much like sat and did nothing but that for like a year. And then I was like good enough to like make songs and do stuff. So I had like a couple of bands that were just completely unrefined, like just like rocking out, kind of like I'm between 18 and 20
college
bands.
Party music,
Yeah, and then like I started taking it like a little bit more seriously because I kind of just like hit a wall with like how fun it could be if I didn't like try to expand my musical horizons, I would say. So then like I try to like tighten it up, and like, you know, the more that I thought about it and like wrote stuff, like the less I wanted to just like party and make like some stuff that had like, you know, some like rhythm and harmony and like meaning behind it, that without even any words, you know what I mean?
I'm gonna come back and watch this podcast after we're done here and make a meme of Sam Kisic saying, you know, the more and more I thought about it, I just didn't really want to party.
I'm
That's
talking
gonna
about
be on Kiwano's Instagram like tomorrow. I swear.
I finished this beer too. Is that bad?
Have more. I mean, you know, that's all we have right now. And we're above a brewery. We could get more if we need to, but probably not in the middle of the episode.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, hey, you know, whatever. Do what you got to do. So when it comes to songwriting, you know, how much time does Kiwano Sour spend on a song? Because one thing that I've noticed with a lot of bands is that I think a lot of bands spend too much time trying to write a song.
Yep. Absolutely. That's super true.
And I don't know how much time is necessary.
How long does Kiwano Sour take to write a song? Like, to actually take it from like, here's like step one, which step one is normally like, here's a guitar part or a keys part or a bass part or like, you know, like a vocal idea. And like, we'll just start from that. And then like in the next hour, it's like a song with a form. And then like anywhere between like the end of that day and then months later, we're like, oh, okay, that's a song.
Yeah.
So basically, I think that if I could give anybody advice whenever they have a new idea, is like, just make it into a song and play the song, and then you'll find out whether or not you like it like real fast.
Yeah.
Because you'll play through it and be like, that was all right, but, and then the conversation starts in the room, and as long as people aren't noodling all over each other, work gets done.
That's how, dude, that's honestly how shit is with me, like when I'm doing psych stuff, because like with Grey Walker, it's a different thing because those guys write most of the music and I kind of critique it afterwards. So it's hard for me to, I don't understand what their full process is, honestly. Yeah. Because they're in their own world doing stuff. But when it comes to psych stuff, I'm kind of like the daddy of all of the song structures. And so it's like, usually it's like, when the guys come over, most of the time it's like I will sit down one night and it's like, okay, I got like an intro, verse, chorus, bridge, you know, I got like all this stuff together, and then I'll sit down with them and we'll start like dressing it. But it's like the skeleton usually comes really quick. And anytime that skeleton doesn't come quick, I'm very much just like, okay, I can acknowledge right away that this just isn't going to go anywhere. Yeah. Instead of like me trying to like rack my brain around like making something work. It's like, I like that like feeling of like, oh, this happened really naturally. It sounds good. It's catchy. Good to go. Let's go with it. Rather than like trying to make something shitty, not shitty.
One of our forum go-tos is, if you want something to be cool, is like you just like skip the one and then you come back into the two. So we'll be like, man, this verse really needs something. So we'll be like, we do that all the time.
And with horn hits, that makes anything saucy.
On the
Less
Angel
is more.
Wings,
Less is more.
On the Angel Wings release show, we have Natalie Brooke, who is friends with Dylan, the guitar player from Kiwano.
Dylan Davey.
She's like a great like keyboard player, and you know, she plays with the band and everything. And then our other opener is Honeycomb, which is like Chloe Weiss, and she's insane.
Should probably need no introduction, but definitely Chloe Weiss is the shit.
That band is real solid. Jonah, their bass player, is super good. His bass is really nice.
One more time, when's that show?
It's November 22nd at Cativo. And doors are at 7:30, and then music will be at like 8. But like, you know, music's at 8 means music's at 8:15.
And we'll have tickets and stuff on the Facebook event.
Yeah, it's already set up. It's on
okay, great.
Yeah.
And and so just follow us on social media and that sort of thing to stay tuned to that.
This song, like a lot of our newer stuff, like, you know, we have like a lot of more options that we can explore with like our new lineup. So like there's some more jazzy, more soulful stuff, but like this one is just like a real tight version of a song from our first EP, which is called Boogie Funk Daydream on Spotify. That EP came together like 4 months after we like became a band, and we put it out and like played a show, started playing shows all the time. But like Angel Wings is like, sounds like something that could be on our first EP, but played by everyone in the band 1 year better at playing on their own and a year better at playing with each other.
Yeah, right.
That's another interesting conversation to get into, because as I mentioned before, or as we mentioned as a unit, the band is just, you know, shy of being 2 years old. And regardless of how long you play, like you could play the same fucking song for 8 hours a day. It still takes so much time for that song to mature, playing it out live. Somebody does something on accident that you never thought of, and you're like, oh shit, that really fucking, like, that really makes this track, you know, like, just like, it takes so much time and so much experimentation. And usually the accidents only happen in live environments. You could play in a fucking practice space forever, but your brain's in a different spot versus like you fucking wild man over here. You know what I mean? If you've never seen this fucking dude play a bass live, he's like, he's
there's
fucking,
like 6 people.
Like he's having a fucking temper tantrum playing bass. It's so fucking fun. But I imagine it's just like, you know, with you guys and just even in general, like most bands that I'm in, even something as mechanical as like Sykes and a New Violence is, because it all comes from like programming, you know what I mean? With our, it's like, even over time, we start to find different little things that happen because we're like, say we're at practice one day and the computer skips. Right. Like, oh shit, like that would be a cool thing to do. Let's figure out a way to program it. Like little things like that. Like just like little. Or you leave an extra like pedal on or something. And you're like, oh, that's actually a great texture or something. It takes so much time, but it's like, it's hard because so we're battling that nurture that you need to really develop songs in a time frame of 2019, year of our Lord, where everybody wants everybody wants everything so fast, so quick. You know what I mean? Like if you don't put out something every, you know, couple months, every couple weeks, it's like you don't exist. Yeah. So how are you guys dealing with that? I mean, obviously
live sessions for sure.
Live sessions. And also, you know, you were saying like, it takes a while for like a song to come together. Like all the songs from our first EP, like they sound different now because Chris has his own part, Spencer has his own part, and then like we wrote a jam into Paid in Gold, our one song, and then we, for like Angel Wings, for like the promo material, we went out to Rob's house in Hampton, and he has a grand piano in the one room,
the Ruffner Ranch.
Yeah, so we like set up the. We know, like we like set up like live sessions in there, and like we put out Paid in Gold that has like a jam in it that's like not in the song that Rob does a solo over. And then you ever heard Movin'? Oh, yeah. Like the fast one?
Yeah, I've heard all of your stuff. I've heard your EP. I've podcasted with other people in your band. I've played with you like 2 or 3 fucking times. I've seen you probably like 12 3 other times. Yes, I know your fucking music.
But we just put out Slow Movin'.
He's like, I don't know why you gave me that
video. Yeah, so it's moving, but instead of bump, 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 it's like bump. Okay, and then Justin Benzino plays this like so you super put that New Orleans. Yeah, it's
so you know what's funny? After all that shit that I talked, I have no idea what you're talking about. Really? Yeah, no, I didn't see it. No,
but yeah,
that was the most recent one. So that's okay.
Yeah, okay. We put out 2 live sessions on our Facebook in preparation for like Angel Wings to come out, just to like remind everybody like. Because our last show before, like we played with a band called the Mo Bros from Charleston, South Carolina at Spirit the other day. And before that, August 31st was our last show, which was Under the Bridge Music Festival, which was
gas.
Sweet. Three River Circus.
Sweet. I hope that happens again next year. That needs to become a tradition.
That happens again every year.
Yeah. Can we have that like 4 times a year? Give it up for Three River Circus.
4 times a year, seasonal. There's like cold as piss under the bridge. Where everyone's like,
right.
You're like, yes, Sierra Sellers.
Sierra Sellers is sick, and there's just a wind tunnel underneath that bridge.
Remy's like up there like...
Everybody's you do the Scott's bass lessons thing. You finally play bass and gloves.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Here, you bumped your mic. I'm just gonna...
Oh, sorry.
We got full service over here.
It's all good. It's all good. So, fuck. I had something in my brain and then it completely went away.
Can we get some F's in chat, please?
What the fuck was I going to talk about?
So healthy.
Oh, I was going to talk about live sessions, and I think it's awesome because I have noticed that you have put out some other ones before that I have seen, and I think that that's so fucking crucial right now. I think that's the best thing that any band can be doing right now in terms of content.
Well, it also gives you freedom because if you like, you know, it's a live session. So like, you know, if you don't play like exactly what's on the studio version, like that's what you played that day and you can own it and be like, hey, you like our band? This is us playing the song.
Well, I think it's so fucking valuable too because like nothing against anybody that's playing right now. I mean, fuck, even Sykes and a New Violence is half automated at this point. But to have like a band in 2019 that's doing something that's very current, but still played by live fucking human beings, to actually be able to see people playing that and let people remind people, even people that are younger that have no idea that, oh yeah, these are instruments and people still do play them live. Not everything's fucking Imagine Dragons, right? So it's really crucial that people see that. And I love when bands are doing live sessions, especially when bands have like huge live ensembles, because it's like a little bit of a dying breed in terms of like the pop realm.
It's funny. The room that we recorded all the stuff at Rob's house in is definitely smaller than this one.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It had a grand piano and 7 of us in it.
Yeah. But no, I mean, yeah, I don't know. The live session thing I think is it's really cool. And for me, I love that format. I mean, some of like my favorite kind of bands with an internet presence do
Scary Pockets.
Yeah, Scary Pockets and you know, even Wolfpack to an extent with those
especially
videos
early
and stuff.
Wolfpack.
Early Wolfpack for sure did stuff like that. But I feel like I get this feeling whenever I watch those types of videos where it's like, even though there's no like, you know, engineering automation or anything that's like raising the actual like dBs of the part of the person you're looking at in that video, all of a sudden, because you have the visual cues of like the guitarist like actually fretting notes or like the keyboardist like actually like hitting keys, like all of a sudden those parts kind of like lift themselves out of the mix, at least for me.
Your brain's working.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Which is rare. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's rare, but sometimes it happens whenever my brain works. But I find that such an interesting kind of like interactive process with like from the viewing perspective.
Oh
So,
yeah, no, I love it. We're actually, I mean, this isn't like publicly announced yet. I may have like loosely talked about it, but it doesn't really matter. It's not a huge deal, but we're recording a live album with Grey Walker in December.
Oh, that's hype.
And I'm so stoked on it because like
Where are you going to do it?
Yeah.
So that I'm not going to get into. I'll talk to you about that off camera because I don't want to announce it before they do. But it's one of those things where, I mean, especially with metal, we're living in this time where everything is so like quantized and automated and perfect with metal. And like, all ego aside, I feel like we're a really good live band. Like we can actually play the shit that we do.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm really stoked to be able to like have the opportunity to like record and play like a live album and just be like, you know, like fuck the Pro Tools, fuck all that shit. This is us, and it still fucking rips.
Yeah.
And it's still
Come at
recorded in
us.
Pro
Yeah.
Tools.
Come at us.
I mean, the whole quantizing thing is crazy. I mean, I feel like for me, like a lot of like metal, I feel like, especially from like a percussion standpoint, which I feel like is where a lot of the quantizing comes from, is like your drummer is trying to become as close to machine as possible for a human being. And like, that's what I think like a lot of like, you know, metal is. So being able to like achieve like a lot of that, like, you know, just like the intense kind of like, you know, speed pocket that like metal achieves is
This
awesome.
is something that I've said before, and I think that I'm really curious where heavy metal would be today if it wasn't for technology.
Yeah.
Because I think like the technology pushed people to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like play more, because it's like now you have like shit, like even though they're not like metal per se, but like a Polyphia or something like that, like one Animals as leaders, like those.
That's just too much.
You know, like
That's a lot. He's better at slap bass on his guitar than I am on my bass.
you get these people, right? And then you have like, you know, kids that are, you know, 10, 11, 12 getting into guitar, and it's like they're not coming up listening to Smashing Pumpkins or whatever. Like that is normal to them.
Yeah.
There's like
So they
Sweet
become
Tap,
these like
Sweet
fucking
Tap.
crazy prodigies. And like,
Yeah.
you know, you fucking go on YouTube and there's a fucking like 12-year-old like Asian kid that can
You ever
fucking
seen Aaron
kill
the
you.
bassist?
baby. Let's
Aaron
go.
the bassist. At NAMM, he had a booth with Richard Bona, who I know you probably know who that is. He's like,
Disgusting.
yeah, he's just a crazy
That's
bass
what he
player.
is.
And like at NAMM, it was like Richard Bona was like an established like session like player and like Latin player and like this little kid. And he's like,
$10,000 a session.
and like the little kid's up there, and he's like, when you use the half diminished chord to modulate to the fourth, and you're like,
That's literally what it was like. Yeah. And then Bono would like play something and Aaron would be like, oh yes, of course. And then just like do this like crazy.
yeah, like he would
diminished,
like start a bass line
shit.
and then Aaron would like just be grooving. It's funny because he's like 8.
Yeah,
so
he
has,
plays
like,
it a full
bass.
size though. So he's like up here. It's
so-
like if Kisic was playing like an upright bass sideways.
It's so interesting the time that we're living in, because like, I guess this is all subjective what I'm about to say, but from my perspective, underground independent music, from like a very technical perspective is, I mean, it's obviously on a level where nothing has ever been. Yeah. It's like some people are doing some really, really crazy stuff, but if you like shift to the pop perspective, like the mainstream, it's like simpler. than it's ever been. So there's these two things that are simultaneously happening. And it's so interesting. And I'm wondering if it's ever going to intersect back where like we have, I don't want to say intelligent pop music because I don't really have a problem with anything that's mainstream right now.
Khalid's pretty gas.
Khalid is pretty gas. My thing with pop music is that it's like, I actually saw this this like interview with like Frank Zappa like a while ago. You might have even seen the same thing, but he essentially like told this whole story about like the record industry. And this was even back in like, I think this was like the 80s. He died in like 90 something, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, but so it was like mid 80s, I think, if I'm correct. And he's like talking about the changes in the recording industry and from like the label perspective. And he was said, you know, back whenever he was coming up, like 60s, 70s, like that kind of stuff, where there were these guys, like essentially like the classic like studio execs, like chomping on cigars in offices and stuff, that kind of thing. But they would be like, okay, there's this band that one of these like plebeians below us like think is good, and we'll put it out there. We'll do a record deal. If it sells copies, like, you know, that's great. If it doesn't, then, you know, they're not getting another record deal. And that's how all this, in Frank Zappa's perspective, like how all this, like the music was able to be kind of allowed like through that gate. And then he told this, at the end of the interview was like, and then, you know, it started happening where all these hippie kids would come up and start working in like the lower parts of this thing. And then they turned into the executives and they were like, oh, I know better than the kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know better. So we're not going to take a chance on this because I don't think it's going to be a thing. And so he says that, you know, even at that time, that was like the direction that pop music was taking. But I do think it's really interesting how much hip hop is becoming like pop music at this point. And there is a lot of really cool, like revisiting of like soul and like gospel concepts and stuff that hip hop is doing.
Anderson .Paak is probably one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Anderson .Paak is tight. I
so
wish
good.
that he
He's the
was
most
a little
timeless
bit.
music.
I wish he was more acknowledged than he is, but I mean, all things considered,
doesn't
he
need
still
to
is
be.
pretty big.
He's like, if we knew him, he would be like the best drummer we knew.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. And he
Yeah.
also, like probably the best singing drummer alive. Probably next to Theo Katzman, but that's kind of a meme. But
He's not really a drummer.
you know,
though.
that's exactly
He does that thing.
right.
plays like
yeah,
this.
the chicken wing hi hat. But yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think Anderson .Paak is like one of those people who it's like in like 30, 40 years, people are going to be looking back on him like,
Yeah, like how
yo.
Herbie Hancock's like in the studio
Yeah.
with Kendrick and stuff.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like that'll be like Anderson .Paak with like insert guy from 2037.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And he'll be like old, but like still super relevant.
Yeah.
Because like
He's
Herbie
still got
Hancock's like still like mega relevant.
Yeah. And Pac will still have the best teeth in the game.
Yeah.
I think
It's a big old mouth.
He's got some great pearly whites, dude.
it's so
awesome. Great teeth.
interesting. Just, I think the other thing too now is just with the general consumer, the general person, me or you, we have access to so much more shit than anybody ever had before. I mean, any group of schlubs could just put their fucking album out and it's distributed to the world.
Yeah, look at us.
in the same fucking platform that Anderson .Paak or
Yeah,
Billie
like Spotify.
Eilish or 21 Pilots or whatever. It's all in the same fucking pot. It's not even,
Yeah.
it's like, it's one of those things where it's like,
Spotify will take your stuff.
yeah, it doesn't fucking
It took
matter.
a full album of
If
silence. from
Spotify is
Wolfpack.
the new record
Well,
stores.
that changed the history though. They
That's true.
don't do that anymore because Wolfpack played them. But yeah, no, the amount of just, I mean, obviously like the internet's a huge part of that. And I think that's like a really great thing because I feel like if the internet and like the, I guess, accessibility of like all these different like sources of music and art and creativity, if like the internet wasn't there to kind of serve that, I feel like it would be really, really hard, like it was in the past, like to be an independent musician. Because,
I mean, I feel like
there's
a lot
no
of stuff probably
exposure
went
without that.
undiscovered.
Yeah,
Like
right.
in history, it must have.
Listen,
Yeah.
motherfucker, if you're gonna get comfy, just put this towards you.
I feel like a lot of there's a lot of stuff that went undiscovered. You know, something that was pretty impactful to me was Lucas Macaluso, who went to high school with you.
Yes,
But
Lucas.
he plays in Marshall Magic and Tribal Who's, two bands from Nashville. And he was like, I was talking about like if he was going to come through Pittsburgh, like let's play a show together. Like whether, I mean, I think Tribal Who's is like hip hop. So like, and it's full band hip hop. So that was
Right.
probably going to be a back alley sound show.
Yeah.
But like he was saying, like he's been on plenty of tours, and because of the internet now, he's like sick of touring as nobody. Like, and I mean, even if you're like popular in your city, like I don't think that there's like a single person in like, you know, Wichita or something that knows about us. You know what I mean? Unless we know them. So when you're touring and you're kind of just showing up in a city and like playing to like however many people happen to be there and like putting all your trust into stuff. like look at what Wolfbeck did. They you put a bunch of like live sessions on the internet where the internet is a way to reach a bunch of people without having to get in a van, spend a bunch of money and drive around and put yourself out there. So like that's actually part of the reason that I wanted to get it more into like these like live sessions and everything.
That's why like with Sykes and the New Violence, like almost every show we play, I make sure that like we put up at least one live song from that.
Yeah.
So it's just good evidence. And it's like, like, I mean, like I have live videos. They don't have a lot of views. I mean, they might have 1,000 views, but that's 1,000 more sets of eyes than we're at my fucking gig. I can tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, like the slow, like the Pain and Gold video we did with Angel, like for like leading up to Angel Wings, and then the slow moving video that we did, like both of those have like a little bit over 1,000.
I think it's about
like I know
1,000
Paid and
each,
Gold has a little bit over, and I think the movement has like 900 and something. But like the thing is, though, is like I don't remember a single time that Kiwano Sour's played a show that 1,000 people showed up to. So like that's what Lucas was talking about, and also listen to Tribal Hoos and Marshall Magic. Lucas is a beast. He's a great keyboard player. Him and Chris should definitely do something.
It's utilize those resources in that way. Don't be. I think like, there's a lot of bands that have gotten really caught up in like, oh, let's repost the same things over and over again, or let's start posting memes from our band account, which is like literally the worst.
I don't
every time I see like band accounts posting memes, or like just like, what's your favorite song from our new EP? It's just like, oh,
top text, bottom text.
Bro.
Like, come on.
Like you're playing like fucking. I mean, like most cell phones nowadays can capture footage good enough. Like. Yeah. Somebody that is at a show, just have them record something and upload that. That's 10 times more efficient and more beneficial to you than like reposting some fucking meme or something. Because then like you're just getting people to like interact with your shit, not because of your band, but because of something else. It's like clicks. It has nothing to do with. And it's like those numbers are irrelevant. Sure, maybe you might get more attraction to your page, but it's like they're coming.
It's like why
they're coming to your page because they like the little thing that you posted about SpongeBob, not because you wrote this fucking sick song.
Yeah, right. Like if you're gonna start posting memes, then just like turn into a meme page and just change the thing. Don't be a band anymore.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having like a Facebook page for your band and like a separate page is like that's a meme page.
Yeah,
that's fine.
There's the classic Pittsburgh example.
There are probably some bands that have found ways to meme efficiently. I don't want to like throw it memes. Completely under the bus.
Torture.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's like every once in a while I see something that's like, okay, I think this is funny, but I don't care that much about it.
I know exactly how you feel.
You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, cool.
Memes were invented to just like forget about depression for like 3 seconds at a time. In my opinion, they're just like little things. It's like puppy pictures.
Sure,
you know what I mean. It's like I remember in like 2009 or like 10 or whatever, and I would be like on like Twitter on like cute emergency like Twitter and being like, oh wow, these are great puppy pictures, and forgetting that like I hate myself.
Did you see that marmot that got scared by the fox? Jabe Short shared it on Facebook.
Of course, Jabe did. The most prolific memer of Back Alley Sound is Jordan Bosley.
Yeah, by far. He's got a good Facebook. Follow Jordan Bosley on Facebook. Do you follow on Facebook? Is that what you do?
He posts a lot of sick skateboarding videos.
Yeah, he does.
And I appreciate that.
Back Alley Sound, I'm like hands down the worst skater in Back Alley Sound.
That's true, yeah.
Even our manager's good.
Yeah, Jordan, he's great. Yeah.
Do those dudes skate? Do they?
Yeah, they skate.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
They should have like a skateboarding video.
I don't think any of them are good enough to have a skateboarding
That's fine.
video.
They did
that would be relatable content.
We did have like the open skate thing at the under the bridge though for the Three River Circus stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Three River Circus is great. It's evolved into something that's just like a bunch of people who are friends with each other that do cool stuff, and then like eventually we come together.
Yeah, it's like common association more than an organization of any sort. You know what I mean? I mean, admittedly, he deserves the mention. I mean, Troy did like a ton of work for Under the Bridge in particular.
Yeah, Troy Johnson from Abstract Theory,
right? And but Three River Circus definitely is more of like a collective in the classic sense of like there's very little structure. It's more of like a free association kind of thing. So
yeah, and it's like a hit me up if you need me kind of deal too, or like if there's an event going on, you need me to do something, that's fine. You need a bassist or something, you need to find a keyboard player for something like that, or whatever. Like it's just like a group of friends who are all supporting each other and doing cool stuff.
It's awesome. Yeah,
I would consider you a River Circus member.
Yeah,
sure.
I would hope to be.
You can name every member of. You can.
I would
name-
hope to be. It's funny. Every time I
definitely a
see
circus.
every time I see the back alley sound dudes, I always pick on them for playing shows with the same 4 bands over and over
Yeah.
again. And I think part of it is just because like I want to be like more a part of what they're doing.
you're like, how about a fifth
And
band,
I feel like reasonably singled out that I'm not, but it's totally fine because like to be completely honest, I probably couldn't play the amount of shows that they do. And to be fair, I've played enough of them and it's fine.
Yeah.
I just like to be a brat because I can.
Yeah, when we were recording
After just sharing that July 4th ticket, all of a sudden you just need more. You're craving more. There's
I think that the July 4th party at Mitch's house, summer camp. Everyone listen to the summer camp. They're great. I'm on the cover of their
like
EP,
a
and I'm kind of like
sus on
made
that
out to
cover.
be like a creep of some sort who's like surfing for pornography on the interweb.
yeah, you look terrible.
Yeah, that's me.
To me, it looks like
But Mitch's house on the 4th of July
I will
is
say
just so
this.
fun. And I always hope to play early that way because like if you play at 7, you don't want to be wrecked, but you are because it's the 4th of July at Mitch's house. So like ideally you play at like 2 and then the rest of your day is free.
Yeah, trying to avoid the sun.
I will say this on the cover of Incognito Mode, which
Yes.
Sam is featured. The face that you're making is like the face that I will make when like a new restaurant is on Grubhub that wasn't there before.
You're like, oh, shit, look at all these options.
Yeah, something like somewhere in that area.
Like.
Incognito
Or
Mode's
you start
gas.
getting
That was
those
a great
fucked
album.
up thoughts like, oh, I could get sushi and pizza.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
PSA,
Sushi pizza.
Connor Lindsay, give me back my bass strap, dude. It's been like a year and it's on your bass in your house and you have one. You have one. I want it back.
Isn't that pink squiggly cable enough for you, Connor? Isn't it enough? Can't you let some of us have something?
I can't take the rest of the beer, dude.
I'll take the rest of it.
All right. I mean, like, it's gone, but
Yeah, no,
fine.
you guys are good because I had a few before you got here, so don't even worry about it.
That explains so much. That's why. That's why you didn't. That's why you didn't shut down the ASMR conversation like absolutely
Oh,
immediately. You
no,
let it go for a little
no.
bit. You're like
Why would I
normal.
shut it
Sober
down?
sex would have been like, not having this.
I think that it's a really important thing to facilitate any conversation that anybody wants to have.
yeah. And you, it's,
Wow.
that's, I
It's
think
a
that,
selfless act. There are
No,
a lot
seriously.
of conversations I don't want to
well,
engage
no,
in.
Yo,
I'll
motherfuckers.
at least give someone like the time of day that I want to give them, which sometimes is like 5 to 7 seconds.
Yeah.
You can always get a word out and then
Yeah,
I'll give
right.
one back.
The thing that I always say about the podcast is that it's your time. It's not my time.
Yeah.
You're here. You know what
I do appreciate like the amount because you're Sykes. You've been like doing like, like underground Pittsburgh music for so long that whenever you watch, like you haven't like you, no matter what people say on your show, a lot of the time, like you have something to draw from, like from your personal life that you're able to be like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Except for like, I mean, I've seen like some episodes where someone says something, and you're like, you just got to move on to the next thing.
Sure. I mean, you can't
Like about to be right now.
You can't connect with everybody.
Of
Yeah.
course.
You can't connect with everybody. And like sometimes like it's rare, but sometimes people like hit me up to come on the show. And most of the time, if you hit me up to come up and I have an open spot, I will get you on the show. Because if you want to come on the show, that means you must want to talk. And if I don't know who you are, it's an opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
To shut that down would be
That's a
ignorant
good
of me.
attitude. Yeah.
But an unfortunate side effect of that is sometimes I meet some weird fucking people or just people that I just don't connect with.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just what it is.
It's hard. I mean, I think it's like having the music is obviously a great frame of reference for everybody to kind of draw from. That I feel like is a common thread for a lot of the stuff that you do. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's always going to be people like that. It's difficult. Sam's over here practicing his 3-finger.
And it's not even that, like, it doesn't always even come from like I think this person is wrong or I'm better. It's like people
of
have
course
different fucking life experiences.
Yeah.
It's fucking, whatever. We're all unique.
We're all in the year of our Lord 2019 together, isn't that right?
So with the end of here, we're approaching the end of this year of our 2019.
Wow, 3 months left in the decade.
Yeah.
Or 3, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember like 2013 when there was hope.
There was hope. I remember hope.
With the future, the of Kiwano Sour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's that flavor looking like in the next year? You got any big plans, or are you just kind of like, well, release some stuff, still writing, recording, getting shit together?
We're gonna start with Angel Wings, but rest assured that it's like very, very soon. Then like the whole next chapter of this band is like going to be fully underway.
Yeah, obviously we're really excited to kind of take a lot of the have the songwriting process with the entire new lineup kind of like from the ground up. A lot of like the writing that we've been doing is kind of like, these were ideas that we've had that we really like, obviously still, that was kind of like created in like a bit of a different paradigm for Kiwano. But like, as we move into the new year, obviously we're really excited to kind of, work on that songwriting from like a collaborative perspective of like everybody's kind of on equal buy-in from where like in the songwriting process.
About where they're coming from. A lot of it is just like, there's like I said earlier, we have a whole bunch of FL Studio demos of like prospective ideas. And honestly, we just worked one of them out yesterday at practice, and it went really well. Maybe it went really well because I couldn't play because my hand was all messed up from
he jazzed himself
on Tuesday.
He jazzed himself.
So I just kind of like watched it happen. But yeah, like it came together real nice. All the ideas came together real well. People have respect for each other in the room and respect for each other's ideas. And like, it's funny because people like accept majority rule too. Like it happens with me all the time. Like, here, we should do this. And everyone's like, no. And I'm like, okay, act like I didn't say anything. Move on to the next thing. You know what I mean? Like there's no one who's like trying to like strong arm their idea into the situation and like trusting. Like we're back to like the whole trust with musicians around thing. You trust that if you have 7 people in the room and you think that the other 6 are like real good musicians and 5 of them think that the idea you just had maybe isn't the best idea, then you're like, all right, well, I'm not God. So like, yeah probably that, we should do something else there.
Yeah. I will say though that there has been like times where it's like people will have like an idea that they really believe in, you know what I mean? They kind of like fight for it. And then you got to give that kind of equal weight as well. But
we always track that. If I can give anyone any advice, it's buy an audio interface, because we track like a whole bunch of different ideas for everything. And like I remember whenever I thought my music was good and I was like 18, I was like, that song was the best, and like nothing even got recorded. And then like I would record something and be like, oh geez, that sounds like.
No, it's super crucial, and I've said this before on the show, that bands that have the ability to self demo, even if it's like the most like basic way to do it, fucking do it.
Yeah.
Because
dude, even if you pull your phone out.
no matter how good your room sounds, there's always one motherfucker in the band that's a half step off on something or something weird, and you never fucking catch it until you actually sit down and track with everybody. And it's the fucking worst.
Even when you wrap your phone in a t-shirt. You ever done that before?
Yeah.
That actually doesn't work out that bad.
It doesn't. It's not the worst thing. Usually you have to get, nowadays you can get actually some like recording like apps that are way better than like because like if you take like
what about that thing Chris
Apple
has?
thing, whatever. The voice
that
memo.
Little digital recorder thing.
Oh yeah, just
like,
you can get those on rent from like
they're like $150.
Yeah, you can get those on rent from like the Pit like library and stuff too, which is pretty cool. Yeah, because Chloe was my partner Chloe was like doing this like thing for class, and she was like interviewing people. They were interviewing people, and it was like you can use that,
dude. It kind of looks like a vape.
Well, it's a stereo microphone vape is what it is.
Okay,
because it has like it's like 2 kind of like cross microphones that go like that, but you can even get like windscreens and stuff for it, like all that different stuff. There's like a lot of attachments. And
Record
stuff for it,
yourself.
Definitely to be able to hear yourself back is revolutionary.
It helps so much just to make sure everybody's on the same page and to like really learn the stuff and be able to critique it, because like when you're in this practice space, most of the time, I mean, I can't speak for everybody else, but I'm always focused on myself. And I'm like, 75% focused on myself, and then the other 25% on everybody else. Mm-hmm. But to actually be able to like sit back and hear everything, you might be able to catch like, oh fuck, like, like the bass and the kick drum are not lining up on this little section. Let's tighten that up, and just those little nuances that really make it sound super good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then because like
stuff that gets lost in translation whenever it's like loud as shit in the room, and you're like, party, baby.
Because everybody ends up having a good time, but
it becomes unfortunately uncommon. Right? It becomes unfortunately common for bands to find out about that stuff when they're in the studio on their dime.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're like, you know, tracking like, oh, I thought the whole time you were doing this, and like you're not, like, no. And then like,
you
now all of a
got
sudden you got people learning songs in the studio and some fucking engineer like, oh, whatever.
Right.
You know, it's the sweet studio is we tracked the Angel Wings tracking setup. We're super excited about because we did drums at Audible Images. Chris, the new keyboard player, he's not even that new anymore. The keyboard player for Kiwano Sour is Chris Wood. And he did his internship. He went to Duquesne at Audible Images, like on Babcock Boulevard.
Yeah.
And I went in there, and Hollis recorded us, which Hollis and this guy Jay owned the studio together, and they did an absolutely great job. I mean, because like drums are almost entirely based off of the room when you record. Like if you want to make drums sound good, like live drums. But then actually bass, guitar, and keyboard, we did all in our practice space through a Focusrite Scarlett 18920.
Cool.
Which is like, it's like an $800 interface, but it's not like a $5,000 console, let alone like $1 million console.
Dude, the software has gotten to a level now that is so unbelievable. The shit that people have gotten, like different plugins and shit.
Well, you know what
stuff sounds so good.
You know what the next thing that old heads are going to be super against is Dan from. So we did saxophone and like all the horn stuff, and then we're going to do vocals actually tomorrow at Hotbox Studios, which is my buddy Dan. No one knows Dan's last name. It's Woe on Facebook. Hit him up if you want studio time. But
just docs Dan's Facebook.
Yeah, I think his last name's like Levanzik or something.
Jeez.
But like oh damn, I completely forgot.
I'm going into Hotbox to do vocal tracking tomorrow, and we did the saxophones and a bunch of other stuff there as well.
But it was great to have like this is like the first time that we ever like track things like on our own, and like, oh yeah, so Dan has like a Townsend vocal microphone.
Oh yes,
and the microphone has like a plug-in, and the plug-in emulates other microphones.
Okay,
so that's gonna be the next step, because like, you know how like people are all like, oh, analog is better, and like, is like, or is it? I don't know, but like, you know, as time goes on, I guarantee you that like there's just gonna be you're able to record your guitar out of your amp into a microphone, and then you're gonna be able to pick the microphone, you're gonna be able to pick the amp, and it's not gonna just be like guitar rig from Waves. It's gonna be like something that like really sounds sweet.
Yeah,
and then people who are like analog heads are just gonna like stare at it and be like, I don't believe that it sounds good.
For a long time, it was super justifiable to the analog versus digital argument, but it has evolved in such a way.
Even
now,
in the last 3 years.
Yeah, no, it's really fucking hard to tell the difference nowadays, and in, you know, give it another 10 years, you're not going to be able to tell the fucking difference.
Yeah,
like,
in 5 or 10 years, like incredibly like robust, like
especially
sampled like plugins like Keyscape and stuff are going to be like common like in home.
Yeah,
like
dude,
you know,
especially with the way music is going, like the sound of modern music is catering to modern production, and the way people listen to music caters to modern production. Nobody fucking sits around on a hi-fi home stereo system and listens to music anymore.
Unless you're on like Reddit, like audiophiles.
Yeah, I mean, some people do, but it's like a very small demographic. Like, I have a really nice setup for like my records that I listen to when I'm at the house, but like, that's not the demographic of people. Yeah. It's not that's a very, very small sliver of people.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like Spotify and Apple Music. And I don't know if anyone ever has listened to a song on Deezer, but apparently they have. Because when you upload to DistroKid, it's like,
I think count that sponsorship outside.
It's like, get your song on Spotify, get your song on Apple Music, Deezer too. It'll be on Deezer.
I think Deezer is really big in other countries.
I've heard that as well. Yeah, I've heard like South America.
What if we get like a huge following in like Sweden? Are we moving to Sweden?
You gotta watch.
We're not moving to Sweden, but then we get
you can play some shows there.
Yeah,
you gotta watch the numbers, bro.
Like, we're like the biggest band.
The biggest band in Sweden.
Yeah, like
Kiwano Sour is the.
And like everyone in Norway is like, fuck Kiwano Sour. Like, but like Sweden, they're like, it's like a whole.
Kiwano Sour is the new ABBA. It's gonna be great. I can't wait for that headline. Well, on the front.
Actually, I'll tell you this. Whenever I upload this, I'm not even going to put it as Kiwano Sour. I'm just going to put it as the new ABBA. The new ABBA episode,
ABBA.
whatever. Yeah, Pittsburgh's ABBA.
It's like the Everyone Orchestra, but it's just called Pittsburgh's ABBA.
Pittsburgh's ABBA. And
then
they're
they're
like,
like,
do you guys
they'll-
cover ABBA songs?
Yeah, but
Like,
then,
no,
then
but
we'll
we're
expand and we'll have like the Cleveland ABBA
yeah,
and like
yeah.
the Cincinnati ABBA. Or I said Alba, like Jessica Alba.
Shout out to
See, that
Jessica
shows where I
Alba.
come from because I immediately went Elphaba from Wicked because I got that musical theater background, but that's where I'm at in my life right now. But-
Yeah, it's funny because like my background is just like playing drums in any situation humanly possible, like throughout my childhood. And Jeff was like punk and theater at the same time.
Yep. That's how we did it.
Yep. So that was the.
I was in a bunch of punk bands doing vocal stuff, and I started like absolutely shredding my voice. Like it was bad. And so I was like in choir a lot, like growing up. And so I like went in and I just was like, I need to like learn like the best technique possible to avoid like not having a voice by the time I like graduate college. Then little did I know that graduating college was going to be the hardest part about that whole situation. But yeah. And then, so I was just like, okay. And then, so yeah, no, but technique really, really helped me a lot. And I grew like such an appreciation for like that kind of music, which is something that I kind of grew up with it. My mom was big into like show tunes and stuff, but like, it was something that I kind of was like, as a kid, you kind of react against. And then you look back and you'd be like, you listen to the soundtrack of like Wicked, you listen to the soundtrack of like even like
Les
Newsies or Les Mis is like kind of predictable
I still
nowadays,
want to
but-
cover Anything Goes. You know that song?
Every time we talk about musicals, anything goes. But every time we talk about musicals, Kisic's like, yo, anything goes. That song's the shit. Like,
That
we
song
should
is
cover
huge.
it.
I don't know what the planing they do. It's like that's huge
Yeah,
though.
yeah, it's a nice little run. but there's a lot of like really cool kind of like jazz stuff going on and a lot of show tune stuff.
Oh, yeah,
Especially
for
nowadays, people are trying to break out of the old like almost like operatic kind of style
Yeah.
of some of the older stuff. But
Whenever you hear like a super crazy vocalist in a musical do like an operatic like
yeah,
musical song, then you're in the crowd, you're like,
yeah, you're like, wow,
crazy.
all right. But
I don't
yeah.
know. I can get behind musicals. I can get behind show tunes.
Dylan Davey in our band is also big on
Oh, yeah,
musicals.
Dylan
so
went to
we
school for
bond on
acting.
that. He did, yeah, he did. So Dylan and I really bond on that level quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, really, it just arose. It was like, I'm going to destroy myself if I continue doing what
Yeah,
I'm
do
doing.
you focus a lot on like your like metal vocal technique, or you just hurt yourself? And
Oh
cough
no,
up
I don't
blood?
hurt myself at all. No, I spent a lot of time making sure that I took care of that.
That's
shit.
crazy that that's a thing, if you ask
Especially
me.
for metal, yeah.
Well, the
it's-
problem with me was it was never just like I was never just a metal vocalist. I've always been doing the other stuff too.
Oh, okay.
So, because I mean, like I was doing like even with just like hip hop, you know what I mean? Like I was doing rap shit from the time I started doing rap stuff when I was in like 8th grade, and then I wasn't in a metal band until way after high school. So like I had been doing rap shit for so long. I only joined
Yeah.
a metal band
Do you
because
always like listen to metal?
yeah.
Yeah.
But
have you always had that? You're like, because the style of like the way you spit is like very like. It's like very like breath supporty, like diaphragm heavy, like kind of like in your face, like front of like the face kind of. Has that always been your style? Did you kind of like develop that from?
I think it was always my style. I wasn't always necessarily like good at it. I used to get
Yeah,
like
sure.
out of breath a lot and shit like that.
Yeah,
But no,
yeah,
I think a lot about I mean, even like when I'm writing, I think a lot about like I don't write anything that I know I can't perform live.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think a lot about like breath control and when I'm going to be able to take breaks and stuff like that. And like I incorporate that into everything that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just in general, it's just like, I mean,
With any band, especially in what is it, the Lord's year?
The year of our Lord.
Yeah,
The year of our Lord, the year of our Lord 2019.
Inquisition's gonna come for you, son.
There's like there's the element of, you know, people don't sound the same live as they do in the studio. And it's like that always used to just be a matter of like, you know, what you recorded in the studio was the perfect take, and now what you're playing live is like you playing it live on this day.
Yeah.
But anymore, like, you know, like there could be a song that has like even a Kiwano song for like the next album. I would not be surprised if there's one that has entirely electronic drums on it. Or like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like an arpeggiator synth part on
Yeah,
Chris's
right.
Prophet or something like that doesn't happen live. But then also live, like after this chorus, like it breaks into this new chord progression,
like an improv section.
Yeah, like
a
stuff
new
like that
bridge or
is like something
yeah.
else to think about, like in like new music.
In general, there's just a feeling that is completely different because you don't have an engineer sitting side stage when you're playing shows.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Nick Petruniak's there.
I was just gonna say,
a lot of times.
You're Brando.
Yeah,
A lot of times, whenever there's a band that sounds significantly different, or a rapper or anything significantly different live from the studio, it's automatically, I contribute that to a result of you were over engineered.
Yeah.
You had somebody that, it's just like,
I'm not talking about different as far as like production quality. I'm talking about different as in like the song.
I'm talking about I was talking about performance too. And just in terms, and but not necessarily like parts of a song. I'm talking more about like dynamics or emotion in a song, like a vocal performance.
I can definitely see out of like a lot of like hip hop artists, especially like their studio stuff has like a charisma and like a flow that just turns into yelling because they can't hear themselves.
Yeah. Well, so my main
whenever they perform live.
Yeah, right. I mean, honestly, my main exposure to like what I would consider like overproduced hip hop is like usually in like a festival context, like a bigger, because I went to Bonnaroo like a lot and like Firefly Festival and stuff. And like I saw Kendrick Lamar live, who's like one of my favorite rappers. And like this was like back in like 2011 or 12 or something. But I really didn't enjoy like his set that much. And it was exactly what you were talking about. It's like, all
of a sudden, 17 people on stage.
Yeah.
Like, all doing this.
Well,
He's just screaming.
with Kendrick, it was
and
kind
there's
of
a
like
backing track.
Yeah, well, with Kendrick, it was kind of the opposite. It was just him and like a hype man who was like DJing the whole thing. But with Kendrick, like you have these songs that are like a lot of times like they hit kind of hard, like emotionally, especially like that era too. And it was like all of a sudden like you're in a festival context. And you're trying to like, you're playing to a crowd of people that are just trying to party and like just like rail lines to get through a day is like essentially like what people are doing. So it's like all of a sudden like this song that has like a little bit more nuance in the studio, you have this like pressure to kind of make it be more of like, okay, let's like bump up the BPM like a little bit. Let's make it, let's like yell through this like one section that like, so people kind of get amped or whatever. So there's some of that too. But like I also saw Kendrick then like 3 or 4 years later and he had like a live band, which I think like, I mean, shouts out to like everybody that's doing it, but like Back Alley Sound, I mean, Tribal Who's, this kind of stuff. The live band, it's like, of course, Sykes and the New Violence, yeah. And the live band hip hop thing is so like it's huge. It like completely changes the live atmosphere, especially because like hip hop anymore is not like, and music anymore is not like, let's go to the store and buy a record or let's, whatever. It's like you're making your money on like the live shows. So having that like audience participation and that
and
like
you got
give
Miles
and take,
playing guitar behind his head like 25 seconds.
Like freebasing an egg in like a bathtub. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot to be said about that. And if the live band thing also helps you to avoid like the overproduction thing, because it's kind of like if it stops sounding like it's like a band, then you've overproduced. You know what I mean? So it's like a pretty easy like switch there. There's like it's kind of black and white at that point.
We've been thinking about putting or doing like some like we were talking about live sessions. The live sessions we just did were all Kiwano Sour songs. So like there's only 5. So like one thing that I really appreciated out of all, you were actually talking about this earlier, or I guess we just mentioned Scary Pockets, but like taking covers and like recognizable songs and putting your own flair on them.
Yeah.
And then whenever you like do sessions like that, then like that brings, that people can like sing along and it's like your style of music. Yeah. Which I think is super cool. You ever heard of Scary Pockets?
I don't know anything about them.
Check out all their videos. There's one that's Thank You Next by Ariana Grande with this lady Rozzy
doing the
and me and
vocals.
Jeff like
we like
or the first like hour that we saw it like over and over again for that hour.
It's like one of those things where it's like whenever you take a song that's like, especially like a pop song that like everybody like, even if you
don't like it, you know it.
Yeah, like you know it, and it's like you make a song and all of a sudden it becomes like yours in a way, like based on like the style changes or like some like creative choice that you make. It like kind of it turns into this like new thing and it breathes like new life into it, because it's like you think about like songs in a different context, like looking beneath the surface of the song. Like if you listen to a song that's like it's like sounds funky, like you're thinking of it in a different context. If it's like sounds like an overproduced pop song.
Antoine Stanley Bon Iver cover.
That's, you put me on the spot. I'm not going to think of it.
I don't know. There was like one Scary Pockets video that like it's just like an 80s like synth pop song.
Yeah.
But they make it like a smooth like keyboard and like, like keyboard, not like keys sound, not like synth sound.
Sure.
The 80s are real good for doing covers because everything's so like.
There's also so much 80s
produced.
Yeah, there's so much 80s comeback happening right now, I feel like, too. But
everyone loves the retro nowadays. It's not even called retro anymore. It's called vintage.
But I mean, the ultimate cover, I think, this might be sacrilegious, especially to people in my life who knew me whenever I was like punk or die. You know what I mean? But like Robert Glasper Experiment's cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit
that's pretty crazy.
Is probably the best cover of a song I've ever heard in my life.
Honeycomb's cover of Heart-Shaped Box was gas
too. Yeah,
Honeycomb is playing with us, like I said before, at the Angel Wings release show. Chloe is one of my favorite musicians in Pittsburgh. I like Jonah too, because I always love seeing a bassist that I've never seen before, being like, that guy's heat. Like, he's like super good. And then Kevin too, their drummer is great. I knew Bryce from Buffalo Rose. So like whenever I saw him up there, I was like, this is going to be good because I saw Bryce and Chloe, and then the whole thing happened. And Honeycomb's first show as Honeycomb was the Kiwano Sour Boogie Funk Daydream release show.
That's true.
And that night we did the Moat Rats play with us also. Dylan and Justin from Kiwano playing the Moat Rats. Yeah. And the way that we are able to split, like I'm in back alley sound, Rob's in back alley sound, Justin and Dylan are in the Moat Rats, and then we have Kiwano. Is like everyone just like, if the Moat Rats have a show, Kiwano doesn't have a show, so go to the Moat Rat show. If Kiwano has a show, they come to our stuff. You know what I mean? Like as long as you support each other, there will be time.
Yeah.
Where if it's like, if both bands are recording an album at the same time, and we have recording, and then we have practice. When we have practice, most likely the Moats people would be going to Moats recording, and that's fine. I don't care. It's good. It's fine. Like I don't like people get all butthurt about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like I love it when I'm playing a back alley sound show. Like I'm playing it under the bridge, and like you're playing, and then you see Jeff, like who you just played with earlier in the day in Kiwano, like right in the front row, like absolutely getting it during like your other band show. And that's really important if you're gonna play in multiple projects. Just like get over it and support each other. It's fine.
Well, that's the big thing. I think everybody believes in each other's music, at least with the people that we like interact with. So it's like. We were actually talking with I can't remember, is it Stefan, the guy from the Strange Standard? Is that his name?
Oh, the vocalist?
Yeah, I feel bad.
I forget.
We were talking about the band we played with from Buffalo, and he was
playing with them again on November 2nd up in Buffalo.
Yeah, and that'll be in Buffalo this time. They were touring here, but I was talking with him a little bit, and he was just talking about how cutthroat like the Buffalo local scene was, and it was just like if it's not you, or like if it can't be me, then I'm taking you down with me kind of thing.
Sure.
And like a lot of like cutthroat nature, and like
it's definitely not how it is here.
I have not experienced, and that there might be aspects of that in Pittsburgh, but I have not experienced that yet at all. It has been like a really, really pleasant experience, like people supporting each other and like, just really believing in each other and kind of spreading that wealth around.
It doesn't have to be like that at all. I think that it could be, and there's probably people that are like that, but I don't know. I mean, I can't speak on behalf of another city, but when it comes to Pittsburgh, it's not that fucking hard to hit up a venue, book a date, and find 3 or 4 friends that have bands and book a show and do your own fucking thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if people want to be cutthroat, like there's too many fucking bands for it to be like that here. It's impossible.
And also, I mean, like if you came out and you were like being a dick, and everyone would be like, "Hey, guy, what are you doing?" Like, no one's gonna listen to or support you if you're gonna be that way. So, which is a great. I mean, Pittsburgh's got a great thing going on. Well, I don't think it's always been this way. Like according to like some of the people that I've talked to.
I don't know. Everybody has a different opinion. Everybody has different experiences.
Right. Yeah. I just feel like if everybody has different experiences, but I feel like there is less of like sects of like,
factions.
Factions of Pittsburgh music and stuff. Cause like there still are, but like the Zells, you know them?
Yeah,
Like,
they were
Roman-
just on the show recently.
Yeah, I know. Roman went to Pitt, and like I've seen them play multiple times, and like Pinstripe Sonny, that's like another band that doesn't sound like Kiwano whatsoever that I've seen a bunch of times, and like Short Fictions, and like there is like that like alternative rock crew, and then there's like the metal people, and then there's like the pop punk people, and like the funk soul R&B jazz people, and then the hip hop people. But they all kind of know each other, and like the best of each of those sections, I still think are really good, and I'll go to their show.
Yeah,
that makes me more mad than when people get mad that someone didn't come to their show. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Just relax. It's fine. You have more shows.
The only memes that I'm in favor of are the sorry I didn't come to your show page on Facebook. It's just like it's like my friend telling me that he couldn't come to my show before I told him I had a show. Like that sort of shit. But no, but there's a lot of cross pollination in Pittsburgh, which I think is cool, and it like it shows that. It's one of the cool things about being like a big small town. You know what I mean?
We're actually gonna do. I think it's cool for me to say because it's already scheduled and everything. We're gonna do a show with, or not a show, a live session with Spencer on drums and Chris on keys from Kiwano, the Kiwano horn section, and then Chloe from Honeycomb and Jonah from Honeycomb on bass, and Jeff singing. And we're gonna do like a live session all together from our practice space and like stuff like that stuff that like could happen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave everybody on one thing. I've talked because we got to wrap up. We're a little bit over. I have
I figured that.
got some things I gotta do. It's all good. It's all super solid. Hold on real quick. Let me do something. I got to restart the video real quick just because that was almost about to stop recording, but I fixed it. So one thing I'm gonna leave everybody on, if you want to see a really cool cross-pollination of bands playing songs together. I've given this band a lot of shit and a lot of praise simultaneously. 21 Pilots have a really cool live session on YouTube where it's the two dudes from 21 Pilots and all of Mute Math.
Oh wow.
I don't know who that is, but
Mute Math is a really sick band that you would probably fuck with heavy.
You would fuck with them pretty heavy, yeah.
I dig it.
So they did a thing where basically they Mute Math and 21 Pilots play like 4 or 5 21 Pilots songs, but all live instruments.
Yeah.
And I'm
that's
like,
sick.
if this band sounded like this all the time, I would fuck with them so heavy. But it says a lot about like the core tunes of what 21 Pilots is doing. Like the rhythm, chord, and melody of their songs are all really solid.
All the tone and
They're just kind of presented in this way that's just just like this.
It's
pop
like a weird
sheen
package.
I feel like they might have like come out with something and then like everything like took off, but then that's you now.
But yeah, if you get a chance, dude, that 21 Pilots Mute Math session is fucking awesome. Highly recommended. 2 live drummers like playing simultaneously, different beats off each other, dude.
Man. I love
it's fucking so sick, especially since Darren King, the drummer from Mute Math, who's not in Mute Math anymore, that dude's a fucking animal. He's so fucking sick. But definitely check that out. And with anything else, without further ado, I want to thank you both for being here. We could probably easily talk for a few more hours. I'm sure this will not be the last time that you two are sitting in these chairs or some other chairs in front of a camera that I own, talking about other things. I wish you all the best of luck with everything. One more time, let the people know when that show is and where they can find Kiwano Sour.
All right. So first of all, just check out Kiwano Sour on Instagram and Facebook is probably our main things. We also have an EP, Boogie Funk Daydream, on Spotify. We got a show on November 22nd is the release for our new single, Angel Wings. We'll be playing with Natalie Brooke and Honeycomb. So come check it out. And
it's at Cativo.
It's at Cativo. Thank you for that. And that's very important information. And, stay tuned to the social media in the meantime to stay tuned with live sessions and other stuff we're putting out.
And keep listening to music all the time.
All day.
I fucks with that. And that is all, folks. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. Sam, Jeff, Kiwano Sour. Check them out. I'll be back again in a few days with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the Beat 2019.
The year of our Lord.
Woo! Thanks for listening. Let's get that slow fade. Ooh. And we are done, my friends.
Nice.
Cool.
Peace the fuck out.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun.